welcome back to Cinema Smackdown for Sunday. What's the date today? It's September 29th, and we are on CJLO 1690 AM. My name is Michael Brody. I'm joined today by Shane Simmons, and we are reeling in the climate talk. Because that seems to be...
We better hurry up and finish this show before the world ends.
I mean, some might argue it ended a long time ago. We are going to talk about different world-ending events today. We are going to talk about actors and actresses. We're going to actually have a frank discussion about who we think the best actor and actress are who are currently working today. So that really narrows the field down.
It does. It does. I had to forego my number one pick, Sid Haig, of course, who just... inconvenient to me, dropped dead just this past week.
Just under the wire, Sid. I can't believe it. You've ruined Shane's episode.
I was so looking forward to talking about his tour de force performance for One Line in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah, that guy. What
I got it, brother.
But on the plus side, you do have an autographed photo of Sid Haig, don't you?
I do indeed.
And with that in mind, you are now a wealthy man.
Yes, I made the mistake of saying on a message board, was it Morbid Wonderland? I mentioned, this is now officially a cherished possession of mine. To which someone replied by calling me a douche and saying it was always a cherished possession.
Oh,
it's like okay, random internet guy.
Okay, random internet guy who feels like.
I love that attitude of, hey, I like something. Yeah, I like something too, but I like it more than you, so screw you!
Yeah. I wind up in a lot of conversations with people who start angry when you're trying to say nice things.
Yeah.
I'm upset already. Why? We're just promoting something positively.
Oh, this classic character actor I like passed away.
Yeah.
I shall miss him. How dare you?
Oh no. Yeah, at any rate. Bye, Sid. I see you have an obscene amount of notes in front of you.
I do. I wrote an entire book of notes.
That way. Fascinating.
There's so many films of so many actors I want to talk about.
Oh, well, that works for me. All right, well, our topic today is, again, I don't know if there's a more succinct way of putting it, but it is the best actor and the best actress, in our opinion, who are working currently. And
it will not be your opinion, so please don't call me a douche. I can only take that once a day.
It's more of a debate than it is a specific, exact science. But I'm so tired of seeing these lists of the best actors working today and seeing 20 pretty people who can't act.
Uh-huh.
You know, I don't have anything against Chris Evans, Chris Pine, or Chris Pratt, but not one of them is a good actor.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all
well,
perfectly acceptable movie stars.
There's the factor of actor versus movie star.
Yep.
And some people can be both,
but
it's rare. Exactly. Some people.
I think the last one was Gene Hackman.
Well, the 70s were an anomaly, but we had a lot of character actors who today would be nobody because they're not pretty enough.
Which entirely is all the people I'm going to talk about.
Right.
The majority of the people I'm going to mention are falling directly into, if this was 1975, they would be the biggest actor.
Mm-hmm,
but because it's 2019, you might know their names.
And much as I love all those 1970s actors, and some of them are still alive, I purposely did not choose someone who was extremely elderly. So,
I have some interesting thoughts.
Apologies to Michael Caine, who I absolutely adore. Apologies to Malcolm McDowell, I absolutely adore. But you're not on my list because, you've had your go, and you're not quite the box office draw you once were.
But it has nothing to do with making money. My opinion is just, are they doing great work right now? Do I look forward to what they're doing in the future?
Yeah, well, Malcolm
McDowell is not in that group.
Well, he hasn't been since Caligula imploded his career.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine has pretty much been reduced to being Christopher Nolan's good luck charm.
Yep, that's fine. That's acceptable.
It's perfectly fine. But I'm not expecting to see Michael Caine carry a movie anytime soon. Gene Hackman, likewise, is retired. Sean Connery, retired.
Gene Hackman has been retired for
forever.
16.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's just The closest thing you get to a new Gene Hackman cameo is when his bicycle gets clipped on the streets of New York, which seems to happen regularly.
Or when his brother does a sound-alike car commercial.
Which I've never heard.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't watched commercial television since the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's the thing where companies will actually hire actors who sound like other actors to read the narration for their advertising, and it's like, ooh, I guess Gene Hackman. Apparently, this was done with Gene Hackman's blessing because it was his brother. But there's this weird imposter element to a lot of advertising.
There's an imposter Gene Hackman, an imposter Martin Sheen, and an imposter Richard Dreyfuss, all of whom do car commercials and are vaguely related to them. Yeah, and I think there must be more. At this point, there's probably an imposter Matthew McConaughey who's doing commercials.
It's sort of the voiceover equivalent of Jim Belushi's career.
I like that analogy. All right, well, let's get started. In order to mix it up a little, maybe you should do actress, I should do something like. Why don't you start with actor? I'll do actress, then I can do actor. You can do actress, because I think we have stronger arguments for your actress category and my actor category than we do for our opposites.
That's probably true.
So why don't you give me your thoughts on actor?
So I want to talk about the guy who I was 100% going to pick and then didn't. And that's Christian Bale, whose career I followed since he was a little kid back in 1987's Empire of the Sun. And back then I, with prescience, said, this kid's going to be huge, provided he can keep it together and not fall victim to the sort of usual pitfalls that child actors suffer. Mm-hmm. And, he made a number of films around that period, also including Kenneth Branagh's Henry V. And he had a number of roles when he was younger that I really don't care about. And then he emerged or re-emerged in the early 2000s.
With Newsies.
No, I was going to pick American Psycho. But yeah, Newsies is certainly in that field of stuff I don't care about.
I just love the idea that you're like, and then I saw Newsies.
and I knew a star was born.
Yeah. But I mean, he is great in his is it his actual debut, Empire of the Sun?
Yes, I think that's his first.
He's quite accomplished in that, and then.
Oh yeah, God, no, he's actually quite amazing in that.
A decade or so, 13 years of he's around, and then.
Yeah, he hasn't imploded yet. He hasn't been caught with a dead hooker and a bottle of tequila yet. At 12, and then American Psycho, which is a film I ultimately don't like, but he's great in it.
It's a film I ultimately like, despite being able probably to argue against it for half an hour. Then at the end I go, but I do really like this film. It has a lot of problems, but it's sort of a feminist re-theming of what the book was. Yeah, but why not? What do you want? You don't want unedited Bret Easton Ellis on screen.
You
That's
don't.
A horror show.
You don't. No, I couldn't even get through the book, and it wasn't because of the disgusting material. It was because of the relentless discussions of products.
Yeah.
But that's what the book is about. It's this sort of anti-materialist, anti-commercial type of polemic. Mm-hmm. And Mary Harmon comes along, makes the film version of it. And it just seems like this anti-male diatribe.
Yep.
And yet, Christian Bale is a fantastic, charismatic, creepy psychopath.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I watched the movie about a year ago, and honestly, it worked better for me than on my first viewing. I didn't have that feeling of, where's this going? Is it going to end horribly? Feeling of some first viewings. And I just sort of enjoyed the performance and the sequences, and honestly, I'm quite happy with that as a film.
Right.
Again, it's not on my top 25 of all time, but it's interesting.
And, since then, of course, he's become infamous for the horrible things he's willing to do to his body for a role. So he's...
Like put it in a bat helmet.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh in and of itself. But to go from The Machinist, where he lost an incredible amount of weight eating nothing but a can of tuna and an apple a day... to right after that bulking up. So he put all the weight back on, and it was all muscle, and then he was Batman.
According to Christian Bale, because of the diet he had to consume in order to look human again for his Batman role, he said, "There's no muscle there. What you're seeing on screen is ice cream and pizza." He said he had to eat an incredible amount of junk food.
Did he wear a wire mesh to have it all his fat form muscles that we can see?
Quite possibly, but he was not thrilled at the timing. It wasn't his preferred direction to go.
All the things he does between that and being schlubby for a number of films, including American Hustle, being super thin again for Rescue Dawn, being fat as hell as Dick Cheney in Vice, and now he's slimmed down again. He'll be dead soon.
Of all of those,
you can't keep doing this to your body.
Dick Cheney is definitely using a lot of prosthetics. However actual chubby he got for that film.
Yeah, he did genuinely put on a lot of weight for that, and he is back down again.
I have to tell you, doing it once is admirable. Doing it as many times as him just makes me sad. Like that's my overview.
I remember when people used to praise De Niro because, wow, you got really fat for the late scenes of Raging Bull, and getting fat's fun. It's getting emaciated death-like that Christian Bale has done repeatedly for other roles that is scary.
I'll remind our listeners that is not actually your number one pick. You didn't make a number one
pick.
No,
not even. I did make a number one pick, but it's not him.
Oh, I misunderstood.
He's
he's
my very narrow runner-up.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back and find out what your actual number one was. And we will do that right after I find the button to play the ad. Which is gonna
happen. One of those hundreds.
Yeah, well, we're going to do that now. Wow. You click buttons and they just sit there looking at you like, I heard what you tried to do.
That's because we have a control board from the 1930s.
Yeah, so judging by the time, we should have just done actor today.
Oh, yeah.
We're at quarter past, and you haven't even gotten to your pick yet.
Whatever.
We could have filled an hour with one subject.
Well, that's us on most topics.
Yeah, but not always. But this one in particular. I mean, now I feel like we're going to have to rush through everything. It's just funny. Although I wouldn't necessarily want to do an hour on actress, so...
Yeah.
Although, I have a giant list of actresses.
No, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty much done with Bale. And
I know, but it ate 15 minutes, so... Yeah. And that was your B guy.
Well, but we also had a fair amount of intro, so...
Okay.
Are we back?
No, it's a show promo with no sound. Alright. Yeah, we're going to be back now.
Okay.
Alright, we're back because I chose a show promo that ultimately was mute. Someone created a show promo for their show that was supposed to be 30 seconds of sound, and instead was
in its defense, the visuals were spectacular.
Yeah, well, that was just me waving my arms frantically. That's not the actual visuals of their piece. But I will make a note that audio clip doesn't work. So we're back. We're back on...
One other thing we can hang an out-of-order sign on in this studio.
Yeah, we're back on our ultra-professional show, Cinema Smackdown, on CJLS 1690 AM. Again, I'm Michael Brody, I'm joined by Shane Simmons, and we are talking today about the best working actors and actresses currently, meaning what we have as our top picks for the people who are actually alive and working today as compared to all time. And it wasn't an easy task.
Yeah, it's this would have been so much easier in the 70s. Yeah,
this is a very middle of the road group for me in a lot of cases. So we started off by talking about your runner-up, with Christian Bale, and now we're going to move on to your thoughts on your actual, what you consider to be the best actor working today.
And I have to say, this is a surprise to me, because if you had told me this, let's say, I won't say 20 years, let's say 25 years ago, if you told me this, I'd go, that guy, are you kidding me? Because when he first debuted, I kind of hated him. And I'm talking about Brad Pitt.
I hear you.
Early on, I dismissed him as pretty surfer boy that all the girls loved, especially after Thelma and Louise.
Mm-hmm. I was in the same boat as you of, I don't like this guy, and I want him to fail and go away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Hollywood throws these pretty boys out there on a regular basis, and they sort of have a sink or swim moment where, are you going to be a star or not? Are you pretty enough to be a star? Are you a good enough actor to have some legs? And usually the answer is no, and they go away in a fairly timely fashion, and good riddance. And I thought Brad Pitt was going to be one of those guys, and then, he had that little role in True Romance as Stoner Floyd. And, everyone's like, well, that was kind of amusing. And he kept having, little kind of amusing roles. 12 Monkeys would be another one of those where he's being super quirky, and it's like, I don't know if that's too much. I saw him in Seven, and I made the mistake of kind of mistaking the stupidity of the character he was playing for the stupidity of the actor. Detective Mills is a bit of a bonehead in that movie, and it bothered me to a degree. It's like, I don't really like Pitt in this role. And then everything really changed by the time Fight Club came out, and I had to admit, okay, fine, I like this guy, because he just keeps choosing good parts, good people to work with. I don't know what sort of representation he has as far as agent and manager goes. I don't know if he's still with the same people. But his entire career has been marked by extremely sound choices about who to work with. There are other actors in Hollywood history who you can almost sense the moment they switched management. My go-to example of that is always Robin Williams, who had his early comedic career, and then he has this mid-career of utter pablum. Film after film that is just mediocre, schmaltzy crap. And then at some point, he went really dark and started to be in interesting films very suddenly.
Yeah, like the Death to Smoochie period.
Yeah, and culminating ultimately with one of my favorite roles for him, of course, which is World's Greatest Dad, although that was largely him working with his buddy Bobcat. Mm-hmm. But there's a bunch of other stuff. Even the lesser Christopher Nolan remake of Insomnia is one of those. That's an interesting choice for a comedian to make, to be in this film in this role.
Oh, agreed.
But he suddenly seemed to be taking his acting career very seriously. Mm-hmm. Now Pitt, on the other hand, he's been consistent with, you worked with Soderbergh. Yeah, good choice. Oh, you worked with the Coen Brothers. Yeah, good choice. Oh, you worked with Fincher. Yeah, good choice. You can't fault him on that, to the point where there's a surprising lack of crap in his career. Mm-hmm. Even Christian Bale, I can understand why he did Terminator Salvation, but that's certainly in the realm of crap. I think the closest counterpart in Pitt's career might be World War Z, which is not a good film, but that was plagued with a number of development issues, and
of course it is his most successful movie.
Yeah, that's well,
it's always rough. It's like one of the worst things a person appears in, and it's their most successful work. And in some cases, what happens is otherwise interesting actors, their entire careers get derailed because now you're that blockbuster zombie movie guy, or now you're that romantic comedy actress, and then they just get pigeonholed because that movie made $100 million compared to their great films that didn't open. They didn't make it at all, and you have to discover them later on whatever your video platform is these days, that you realize, oh, wait, you mean Reese Witherspoon used to be interesting? What happened? Why is she in nothing but junk now?
Yeah, but much popular junk than the excellent early work that she did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my point, is that
she's someone, if she had maintained her Freeway and Election era of choices, she'd be my favorite actress today.
Absolutely. Instead, she's got a career littered with Just Like Heaven and Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah.
Movies, which are all disposable. Legally Blonde.
Those early films of hers, she was someone to keep an eye on, where I would actually be excited to hear that she was working on a new movie. And then it turned out to be very mainstream, very safe, very boring, and I didn't care.
Right.
And after a few of those, I realized, she's gone. She'll be popular, she'll make money, but
she still occasionally touches on something like, I can't remember the title, the movie where she just walks a path for the entire running time of the film.
Jerry.
her Jerry, but her version of that film is much better. It is
One would hope.
Film.
Okay.
It's just a woman with a backpack doing a mountain trail for the entire running time. And I didn't love that movie, but when you see it, you say, now that fits into her good.
Right.
It's daring, it's trying something. As opposed to another comedy with an ensemble cast that is just trying, another Gary Marshall-style holiday movie.
Yeah, on the Reese Witherspoon subject, I just want to encourage listeners. Check out a film called Freeway, starring her and Kiefer Sutherland. She is electrifying in it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you have to understand.
And she's playing trash, utter trash person.
Self-aware redneck film.
Yes, self-aware, very intentionally trashy retelling of Little Red Riding Hood fairy tale.
Yeah, I want to go back to Brad Pitt for a minute because I find him an interesting choice. I can't disagree with a single thing you said. He picks interesting work. He is often choosing even lesser parts in movies that are making the film better, what have you. But here's my bottom line. I don't think Brad Pitt's a great actor. I just don't.
He's on the line of... he's certainly got the movie star element.
Yeah.
He has it in spades. I wasn't sold on him as an actor until a few specific moments, a few specific roles. Certain moments of delivery from him, I go, oh yeah, that's golden. Just when he started working with Tarantino, the moment where he has to deliver, where he's pretending to be Italian and has to deliver the line, "Arrivederci." I just love that. I wish I had that as a cell phone tone.
I love it too, but that's hammy improv stuff.
It is.
That's
okay.
not good acting. It's a great moment in a movie in which I otherwise don't care.
Well, no. Look. I know you're a tremendous fan of his counterpart, Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a real actor. And yet, in the recent Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we see Brad Pitt blow him off the screen constantly.
Agreed.
And as far as acting, I will point to you a moment which you will remember well. The greatest single, the greatest single acting moment of Brad Pitt's entire career. I'm talking about Burn After Reading. The closet moment.
I honestly can't agree more.
The moment where he's hiding in a closet from George Clooney. George Clooney flings open the closet, very paranoid, searching for whoever might be in his house. And Brad Pitt has that fantastic, yeah, you got me, sorry, kind of creepy look on his face, this gesture he makes. It's literally 2 seconds of acting, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, sure, but
it is just about as fantastic as his entire 2-second role in Deadpool 2.
That's also, I think 1/10 of a second is more likely. I am a big fan of Brad Pitt. I just don't expect to ever see him wow me with a performance. It hasn't happened, and I don't think it ever could.
Yeah, he's certainly not Daniel Day-Lewis, who would have been another upper tier choice for me, because
I can absolutely see him as this pick. It's just, I feel like it goes a little against the point of our exercise, which was...
It is, but the idea is these are actors working today, and there's not a fantastic variety of choice.
Yeah, I'm going to,
You can even say, I could have gone with Daniel Day-Lewis, but he claims he's retired now. We'll see.
I'm going to make a command decision based on the fact that we have gotten to the halfway point of our episode and have not even come close to covering one person's choice for one category, that I think we're just going to stick with actor this week.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot more to say on a lot of actors beyond my pick, so...
I will tear out half my notebook.
But we'll come back next week, providing we don't have a guest interrupting the flow of it, we'll come back next week and do actress as a full episode, which I think we can handle. I'm willing to try.
Okay, we'll try. We'll stretch that one.
I find it very interesting that we've gotten this deep into the debate.
See, yeah, it's weird because you have one guy you want to talk about. I have multiple guys I want to talk about. I think it's the reverse with the actress.
I have about 7 people I want to talk about in the lead up to the person I want to talk about. So that makes sense.
Well, hit us with some.
Yeah. All right. We've talked about Brad Pitt. We've talked about Christian Bale. I'll talk to you about my runner-ups and my not a chance in hell guys who used to be my guys. So, let me see. Where should I start? I'm going to counter your Brad Pitt with an actor who is also only doing things I really respect, but I'm A, not sure he's actually a good actor, and B, I'm not in love with him. But if you look at his career, every single choice is, yeah, you're smart. You're working with the right people. Every part you take is interesting. Now here's a controversial one, like a controversial pick on my part.
Adam Sandler.
Robert Pattinson.
Ah, okay,
Now,
okay.
Here's the thing. When I see Robert Pattinson's name, I don't go, woohoo! I go, ugh. But when I look back at the career, he's only made personal choices past his Twilight period.
Right.
That's the thing. I mean, he started off in a Harry Potter movie, and then he went into this mega franchise. He did 5 Twilight movies, and he's awful in those films. But then, that's not his fault. Everyone is. They don't have a lot to work with, and you did hear me defend a Twilight movie last week. But
yeah, he is one of those guys who is also, you look at him at the start of his career and it's like, okay, you're just insufferably pretty.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have acting chops. And yet, you're right, he's making choices that are the right choices, and he may emerge as a guy with real weight.
The thing is, he makes indie film after indie film after indie film that I don't even enjoy. But you look at who made them, you look at the choices that are made, and my number one thought is, well, you're not trying to make people love you in blockbusters, because this film is for 10 people. But it is a pure piece of work. It is an attempt to do something interesting, and there's no way this makes you look good.
Yeah,
he's in so many movies that don't make him look good that just on that basis, I really respect him. I think he's a terrible choice for Batman. But
he
I'm
might
ready to
not be.
That's it, I'm ready to be proven wrong.
There's a lot of people involved in the Batman various franchises who is like, well, this guy's all wrong. What, Heath Ledger as Joker, please?
Well, I mean, like, look at some of his choices. He's in a David Michôd movie, the guy who did Animal Kingdom. That's not a career path movie, but it's definitely working with someone who made great films. This is the Australian director.
Mm-hmm.
He's made great films, and it's just like, I want to work with someone great. It's like, well, you're a matinee idol, and you're choosing films none of your fans are
if you're a matinee idol, you don't go appear in a David Cronenberg film. You just don't.
Yeah, and he's in 2 Cronenberg films, as another example. A lot of really
he's part of a crop of actors who had their giant franchise movie and made all the money in the world, and then decided to do little independent films ever since. I would include Elijah Wood in that, and I would include
George Clooney.
Yeah, it's true.
Although George Clooney stayed in the limelight for the most part.
Yes, but I mean, he clearly took his Batman money and went and did whatever the hell he wanted to do after that.
I will point out one more film for Robert Pattinson, which no one will ever see unless they stumble upon it by accident. It is a proto-Western film called Damsel, in which he is the heroic cowboy character who swoops in to help somebody out and do a thing and be a hero. Start watching it and see how long it takes for you to realize he's the villain. Because he's not just kind of the villain. Oh, is he ever the villain in this? He is a horrible, horrible human being. And it's one of those movies you go, wow, are you too famous to be playing a character this awful? And it's one of those weird westerns that I hope we eventually do an entire show about.
Right.
Because I have about 10 now that are modern, strange westerns, all of which are worth speaking of. But Damsel is certainly on my top list of, well, that happened, and I'm the richer for having seen this movie, but wow, is it not mainstream. Like, you got me again, Robert Pattinson.
I'm waiting for him to do something truly daring, like playing a farting corpse, like Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, boy, do I hate that movie. And I hate it all the more for having so many accolades. It's not a good film.
Yeah, I just want to point him out as another one. It's like, yep, I've got my franchise movie, and now I'm just going to make small, interesting little films.
This is an interesting choice. I'll remind our listeners that you're listening to CJLO 1690 AM, where the cool kids hang out. Our show is called Cinema Smackdown, and today we're talking about the best actors working today, meaning what is our top choices for who is the king of the pile of actors, somebody we actually like, respect, and are interested in the careers of, as opposed to the top 20 people who are being promoted as the best actors none of whom I even care about.
I am waiting for Dwayne Johnson's Shakespearean turn.
See, he's a movie star.
Yeah, he is. And very charming, but I don't care about anything he's in.
All right, I've talked a little bit about Robert Pattinson. Let me talk about... I'll quickly mention some people I loved. I loved Tim Roth. I loved Gary Oldman. Those guys could do no wrong for 2.5 decades. Now they both just appear in crap. Gary Oldman's always in these prestige pictures doing something sort of daring, but he hasn't made a movie I've actually liked in 15 years, maybe more. I'm just not interested in his career anymore. I know what your go-to answer is, and I hated that movie.
What, the Batman movies?
No one even knows he's in those. At any rate, he's not special in those films. Although he's well cast. He's
the greatest Jim Gordon we will ever get.
He's a great character actor in those films.
Yeah.
I wish his whole career had been that, because when he does things...
It's almost like they sucked him out of the 70s to be in those films.
When he plays Churchill, I'm like, oh, this is such a gimmick movie, as opposed to being a good film. It's not interesting.
I want to see a Churchill versus Dick Cheney film with him and Christian Bale, both in fat suits, going at each other really hard.
So I'm not interested in Gary Oldman anymore. I used to love Tim Roth. There's a period in the 90s where he made nothing but amazingly interesting independent films, one after another after another.
I know you would have loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood if only they'd kept his deleted scenes.
I would have loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood if the lead had been Tim Roth.
Yeah.
He would have been perfect.
Yeah.
He's the right age.
To have been a washed up has-been. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, he might be 10 years too old, but it still would have been. Imagine the same movie with Tim Roth and Gary Oldman. Wow, am I suddenly interested?
Well, I would like to see Gary Oldman beat up Bruce Lee.
Would have been more credible. So I love those guys. They came up together in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which was the film that brought them to I became aware of them because of that. I then became much more aware of Tim Roth when I saw him do a hilarious American accent in Reservoir Dogs, which I quite enjoyed. He has a crazy way of pronouncing his American-style words, but it's sort of fun. And Oldman, of course, rocketed to celebrity with films like Bram Stoker's Dracula and what have you. That's already the point where I'm kind of done with him. Didn't take long. He had about 8 or 10 years of interesting work, and then he sort of slides a little...
I kind of half like his Dracula. I like his old Dracula as opposed to his younger, sexier Dracula.
His Muppet Dracula is far more interesting
than
his sexy Dracula. So, they were definitely in the running, but they don't do work I really care about anymore. Another person I really loved, and I will admit is still only making what I would mostly call good choices, but isn't someone I'm as looking forward to anymore, is Kevin Costner. Now, Costner is a lot of people's whipping boy. They view him as a kind of Tom Hanks nice guy, which I think is really strange, because if you watch all the Costner movies, he's pretty dark.
Costner is kind of, the modern Gary Cooper, as opposed to...
I love that. That's a great way to put it. But Costner, even to this day, is still making choices I respect and am interested in so much as what has he chosen to do? He's dropped out of film mostly, and is now doing an excellent television show called Yellowstone, where he is the patriarch of a family on a ranch, and he is fantastic on it. The strangest thing, though, is they've done 2 entire seasons of Yellowstone. They're going into a 3rd season, and he's doing this performance as a character, which means he's put on a voice for this. And when you see someone do that for 2 hours, it's fine. But when you see them do it for 2 entire seasons, you go, oh, it's getting a little rough to listen to you do a character voice. He has a grumbly voice. It's a bit much after a while. It's like, oh, I'm starting to notice you acting in this. At any rate, but he's also somebody who, it's not quite there for me anymore, but I do like him a lot. And that brings me to my other 2 not quite there but interesting choices, which would be Nicolas Cage and Bruce Willis, both of whom, up to around the year 2000, had only done work I found interesting. Even their failures were interesting. Bruce Willis in a movie called Breakfast of Champions, which is nearly unwatchable, but it's interesting. It's like, wow, why would you do this? Well, it's because you still had integrity back then. The 2 of them, however, in the last decade, have done almost nothing but straight-to-VOD movies, all of which are unwatchable. unwatchable. They both make films in which they are paid a substantial fee to show up on a set with zero preparation, act for one day, usually a 12 to 16 hour day, where they film as much footage as they can of these actors, mostly screaming into telephones, or sitting in cop cars making pronouncements, and then they cut this footage into a 90-minute movie that they are allegedly starring in, despite the fact that there's always another actor who does the heavy lifting for the entire film, and we do cutscenes to them doing their one-day performances, and that's the majority of both of their careers.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Nicolas Cage has a lot of back taxes and annulments to pay for. I don't know what the issue is with Bruce Willis, because occasionally, once in a blue moon, he'll do something interesting, like he'll appear in a Wes Anderson film completely out of the blue. It's like, oh, well, that was interesting, and then it's back to being the same character he's played in a million billion films, to the point where, you know, he's in Kevin Smith film telling Kevin Smith, no, I've played this guy a million billion years. Shut up, I don't care, Mr. Director.
I'm going to walk during a scene where I'm being shot at. Walk. I am literally going to walk across a street while people are firing guns at my character, even though the script says I am panicked and diving for cover.
Yeah, over my career, I've had a million billion bullets fired at me, and not one of them has hit me, so, you know, I'm impervious.
I loved Bruce Willis. I loved him from his very first appearance in film. I think I did see him on Moonlighting before I saw him in film, but...
You're a big Blind Date fan, are you?
I loved Blind Date. I still love Blind Date, despite the fact that let's be clear, it's a bad movie. But I like his performance in it. I like a lot of the events in it. It's a messy film. But he followed up Blind Date with Sunset, which was him and James Garner, and Bruce Willis played old-time cowboy movie star Tom Mix meeting real-life Wyatt Earp and them having an adventure together. That is not a good movie by any stretch.
But I'm sold on the premise.
But it's such a charming performance. You've never seen it?
No, I don't think so.
I recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. It's kind of...
I recommend this not good movie.
It's kind of a serious Blake Edwards movie. So when you see it, you go, oh, I can see that you're sort of wanting to make this a comedy, but you're actually doing a drama. It's a pretty good film. It just wasn't going to launch anybody's career.
Do they go out like Butch and Sundance?
I mean, they do make out like Butch and Sundance.
Oh, okay. So cool.
Yeah, I've talked a long time about Bruce Willis and Nick Cage. But they're both guys I still, every time one of their terrible straight-to-video VOD movies comes out, I watch it.
Nick Cage, much as I've gone on at length on this show about how much I despised Mandy, Nicolas Cage is one of those guys, he just feels like he's on the cusp of breaking out into a beloved caricature of himself, like Christopher Walken.
Absolutely. Well, no, he's there.
He's kind of there, but he's still the butt of too many jokes.
Christopher Walken also had a 20-year period of doing 10 movies a year, where he just played wacky Christopher Walken. That has shrunk down now to very few.
You know, Nicolas Cage needs to cross that threshold into where he's having good small roles in interesting films by good directors again.
It's an interesting...
He needs to have his True Romance Christopher Walken moment, where, you know, he does one 10-minute scene with another legendary actor, and it makes the film.
Agreed. All right, I will now talk about my runner-up. I have a runner-up best actor, a person whose work generally is exciting to me, who any picture he's in, I'm seeing it. He doesn't give massively varied performances, but I'm always interested to see what he will do, and that man is Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell started interesting, got more interesting, and has kind of kept up with his indie cred to some degree. He still does odd films here and there, despite having finally won an Oscar a couple years ago for a film I didn't like him in, but everyone else disagreed with. I just thought that role was a little one note.
Which one was that? I can't remember.
He won for 3 Billboards.
Oh, of course.
He won for playing a racist dumbass.
Yeah, no, a film I quite adored, and yet, because it won an Oscar, I forget what wins Oscars all the time, because who cares?
Yeah, but at any rate, Sam Rockwell is definitely an indie cred guy. He's kind of amazing. He made a movie last year that I was kind of over the moon for, The Best of Enemies. I didn't have any interest in seeing that film. I'm kind of all black and white conflicted out. I've seen enough. Green Book killed me. It killed any interest I had in ever seeing another film of that nature because it's so feel good. It's just creepy to watch a movie like that, and then to be told it's a masterpiece is rough. It's like back when Crash was briefly popular.
Yeah, not the Cronenberg film.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the one that deserves to be popular.
That one I do remember won a Best Picture Oscar because it was a collective, what?
Yeah, well...
This movie is terrible.
I feel the same way about Green Book. And a couple of months later, Rockwell came out with this movie called The Best of Enemies, in which he plays a deeply racist man who is head of the KKK, who is forced to work with a black woman to resolve a community issue. And I was...
That sounds like the greatest meet cute of all time.
I was so ready to hate this movie. And some of the things that happen in the film are so unbelievable that they make you feel angry at the screenwriter for having written something so absurd. Just like, well, obviously, this could never happen in reality, so I went and did the research, and every one of those moments was true. Every one of the most outrageous things that are presented in that movie that I thought, you're testing the boundaries of what'll make me turn this film off, out of not believing a human could ever behave this way, are all the most true elements of the actual story that went down. I highly recommend seeing The Best of Enemies. It had about 15 minutes at the beginning where I thought, I am not going to like this movie. And then I fell in love with it. It's a great performance by everybody involved. All the actors in that movie are excellent. And the storytelling is quite good too. But I think the Sam Rockwell-esque Sam Rockwell movie has got to be a movie called Mr. Right. He dances his way through a clever line-spouting hitman throughout this entire movie. A hitman who's grown a conscience and decided hitmen are wrong and anyone who should hire one should be killed. That's the premise of the film. I'm a hitman, but anytime I get a request to kill somebody, I kill the person who makes the request because murder is wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it does suffer from a lot of the Max Landis cutie pie screenwriting stuff.
I'm not touting it as the greatest movie, but I love Rockwell.
Because that premise is great. I wish the execution was better. Yes, Rockwell's very good in it. Tim Roth is very good in it. Even Anna Kendrick is quite good in it, too.
I've watched that movie about 4 times, and I will tell you, it gets better. It gets better on a second viewing. It gets better on a third viewing. The performances are what come out of the film. You stop worrying about the logic, because that movie does not have great logic. All right, we'll be right back. After this little bit of logic, we're going to do a quick commercial break. With any luck, the actual ads will play this time. Like I said, boy, did we ever... I could talk for 2 more hours on this subject. Just people who are close, but not quite.
Right.
Yeah, we're not going to have any trouble filling the hour with women either. Seeing how we chatted about it, because I have 20 women to talk about. And we don't have to talk on for long, but we could. You know, people I think are great. They just...
Well, I probably could have done an hour of what went wrong with Reese Witherspoon.
Yes and no. I mean, just saying we don't like her latter career is enough.
Yeah, but I mean, I could just rave about Freeway and Election for half the show.
Well, we still can. Next, on the next episode. Anyway, I'm glad we did it this way because I feel like we're starting to feel constrained. Oh, we're already back. And much to my surprise, we're already back. What a quick commercial break that was. You're back on Cinema Smackdown on CJLO.
And the show just continues during every commercial break.
We just keep ranting and raving about all of our subjects. All right, I've waited long enough. We've only got 14 minutes left.
Let's hear about your ultimate man crush.
I want to talk about my ultimate man crush. I don't walk around all day thinking, who's the best of this and this and this?
No, you know.
My point is, I don't think about this subject. It's not really something that ever occurs to me. But at some point, the subject came up somewhere. Who is the best actor working today? And I took a beat and thought to myself, who do I think the best actor is? And I didn't have an immediate answer. And when the answer came to me, it was a great surprise because, well, I wouldn't have immediately thought that this was the person I am most interested in and am most excited about his career because this is by far somebody who falls into the category of character actor. He's rarely, not never, but rarely a lead, and he's a weirdo.
He certainly is a weirdo.
He's a huge weirdo. In all seriousness,
very deadpan weirdo.
My pick for the best actor working today, the person I'm most excited to see in things, the person I most admire and or support in his choices, is an actor by the name of Michael Shannon. Now let's be clear, Michael Shannon, star of Man of Steel as General Zod.
And more importantly, as Rubber Zod in Batman v Superman.
Michael Shannon is not a household name. The thing that's crazy about him is he's a Frankenstein-looking brute. he is
Well,
not...
he was the heavy in the Best Picture winner of a few years ago, or a couple years ago, Shape of Water.
Yeah, I want to point out Shape of Water as sort of the ultimate not great Michael Shannon part. He's playing a bit of a one-dimensional, brutish, angry man, except there are about three... I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 moments in that movie where he's
super creepy.
But he's better than the material.
Yeah.
He's bringing something out. But he is just
and one of them is a sweet, tender, monogamous, married sex scene.
Yep.
Which is so troubling to look at.
It's troubling, but it's also brilliant. It's the thing that makes
it's a fantastic character moment. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Michael Shannon, again, he's an odd choice. What's most fascinating about him is he was at one time mostly a stage actor, and he made his screen debut in a little movie called Groundhog Day. He's one of the yokels in that. It's not a big part.
He wasn't a groundhog? Because he's that versatile.
He may well have doubled as the groundhog.
I love when he drove Bill Murray off that cliff.
So I started to notice Michael Shannon not so much in that, but in a lot of little character parts over the next decade or two. And it was around 2012 when he starred in a movie called The Iceman as real-life killer Richard Kuklinski, who was known as the Iceman, in what I would call sort of a proto-Martin Scorsese gangster movie. He's a murderer for hire in this film, but he's so weird in the movie. He plays it odd. There are a lot of things in this film where people just sort of say terrible things to his character, and he sits there with an ice-cold look on his face, no emotion, and then the next scene, he finds that person and murders them. It's just like, he's not putting up with anything in this.
He's very good at playing inscrutable characters where you just, what is going on in this guy's head? It's something really disturbing. What really stood out...
He has resting murder face.
He does. The role for him that really sticks out in my mind is his multi-seasoned arc in Boardwalk Empire.
Absolutely. Where, again, he plays such a brute.
Yeah, but, he's playing a lawman, and yet every once in a while it's like, oh, what is going on with you? You are screwed up in ways I can't even fathom.
And he manages to get that across. I also want to point out that Michael Shannon is also my favorite celebrity. As a person doing interviews.
Yeah, well, this is where his he's deadpan to an extreme that Bob Newhart couldn't even grasp it.
I will recommend to anyone that Michael Shannon did an episode of the Nerdist podcast. It is 1 hour of him almost never breaking character and essentially doing a 1 hour stand-up comedy bit. While you can hear in the background the people, I think it's more than one person interviewing him, they're laughing because what he is saying is ridiculous. But he is so committed to being this super serious character.
He's like, I'm not a real weirdo, but I play one in real life.
Yeah. He does do a few hilarious things. He's also a complete Luddite. He has no technology. He has a flip phone, which he grudgingly carries with him and makes him upset. He even has something like that. And I love how he speaks about the world around us. He's a fascinating character. I look forward to his interviews. I will say that if you've ever caught him promoting a movie, sometimes he'll play it straight and just talk about a film. But more often than not, he's in character playing that guy who doesn't want to be here. And he's great at it. He's very, very charming in his seriously, I'm not a celebrity style of talking. He's a very interesting man. So, as I said, he was in this, he got a starring role in The Iceman. He got to play the heavy villain in Man of Steel, which I didn't like. I didn't like him in it. I didn't like anything about that film. I feel like it's horribly paced and photographed, and the plot makes no sense.
But if you really want to see a weird stage and screen actor of, Michael Shannon's level punching people through skyscrapers, that's your film.
But it was, I already liked him by The Iceman, but it was a couple of years later when he had a string of films in a row where I just couldn't help but take notice, and that's right around the time that this Nerdist podcast interview came out and made me fall in love with him. He did a film called 99 Homes, in which he and Andrew Garfield are reluctant buddies. Now, when I say reluctant buddies, I mean it's, they call it a love-hate relationship. It's a hate-hate relationship, but they have to work together on what I'd call a project. More than that, it would just take too long to set up that movie, but he's really interesting in the film, and it's almost the only time I've ever really liked Andrew Garfield in something, but I think it has a lot to do with the
no, come on, we're both fans of Under the Silver Lake.
True. I will stand up for that movie, and he is great in it.
Yeah.
It's just
Punching children.
The more people tell me they don't like that movie, the more it emboldens
You can take any actor I don't like and then give them a scene where they're punching children, and I just love them.
Yeah, let's be fair, those kids deserved it. So Michael Shannon is amazing in 99 Homes. Of course, he's not the lead. He's the guy who keeps swooping in to just give orders, but he's quite good in it. He has played a few comedic roles, a few more likable dramatic roles. He's very, very likable in Freeheld, the Julianne Moore movie about her being a gay police officer who is dying and is trying to give her benefits to her partner and is failing. And he's her not really getting it partner who's like, gay? I don't get what that means. But you're my buddy. So he has a really good, I am not enlightened, but I'm right there with you kind of performance. I really liked him in that movie, something about it. But what happens is we finally fall on his 2016 performance, which is the movie that won me over the most. It's the movie that really brought him into my top level. He made a tiny little film. It's a neo-noir called Frank and Lola. Shane, have you seen this movie?
I failed.
All right, you haven't seen it. Michael Shannon plays a straightforward protagonist character who's just trying to live his life and gets brought into kind of a noirish plot. It's not a detective movie. It's not really a crime thriller. It is a drama about a man's intense desire for a woman. But it has a femme fatale, vague tone to it. I think it is by far the best movie of 2016. I think Shannon gives the best performance of that year. I think everything about that movie is near masterpiece. It jumped real high up on my list of all-time great films, and it made me love Michael Shannon and basically forgive him for any sin he might commit in the future, like being in another Superman movie. Anything like that. He went on from that movie to play Elvis in an Elvis meets Nixon film, which is a terrible movie, but he's amazing playing Elvis. It is the meeting in which Elvis tells Nixon, I want to be an agent, make me a secret agent. Shannon plays the most delusional Elvis you'll ever see on film, which is kind of awesome. He got another Oscar nod for, he's gotten several, by the way. Michael Shannon's gotten several Oscar nods. He got another one for Nocturnal Animals, which is a movie I think is nigh unwatchable in its art house, look how clever I am-ness, except for his character. I don't even just count his performance, which is excellent, but he's essentially a small-town sheriff who's dying of lung disease, so he's coughing up his lungs in every scene, but he's kind of great, and again, the writing of that character is quite interesting, because he's trying to do the right thing despite clearly about to die at any moment. It's a great performance. He did his super bad guy role in Shape of Water, which we talked about a little bit. He's in Fahrenheit 451 with Michael B. Jordan, where he plays Jordan's boss. I wouldn't say that Shannon's great in that movie, but if you ever see it, it's a hot take on Fahrenheit 451 in an era of digital material. Saying that we're going to burn some books is kind of an odd topic at this point, and trying to make it mean something, and they really modernize the movie, and then say,
they're
burning books.
They're burning ebooks?
It's an odd one. That's all I can say about it. At any rate, he's still interesting in that film. It's like film after film after film where I'm like, well, I don't love this movie, but great choice, great character. I want to see whatever you do next, again and again and again. And the most recent movie of his that came out was actually a film that was made a few years ago, but got held back in the Weinstein avalanche of none of your movies are releasable now. It's a film called The Current War, which sounds like the war that's going on right now, but that's not what the title means. It's The Current War, the War of Electricity. It's a movie about how Edison and Westinghouse faced off for who would be supreme in bringing electricity to the masses. And Michael Shannon plays George Westinghouse. Delightful, pleasant, upbeat inventor guy who is being harassed and essentially assaulted by Edison over and over throughout this movie. The history of this is the movie makes Edison into the greatest villain of the century. And the reality is, Edison was much, much worse than that. Go read the history of Thomas Edison, or just see this film, The Current War. You'll get a pretty good idea of what a monster he was.
I want to see a League of Supervillain movie with him and Henry Ford and J.P. Morgan.
Agreed. And Hearst.
Yeah,
Hearst did.
Yeah.
William Randolph Hearst. It's a great choice. But it's interesting to watch Benedict Cumberbatch play a villain against a much more likable Michael Shannon. You have to understand, one of Edison's things was he realized that Westinghouse's system was better, so he decided to go off on a promotional tour using Westinghouse's electricity style to electrocute humans and animals to prove it was a worse system. So Edison is just willy-nilly murdering animals and he was promoting Westinghouse's electricity as the way to kill people. Like this is, we should primarily be using this in prisons to execute prisoners. That was his way of saying, my system is better for your home. What a monster that guy was. He was so egotistical. At any rate, looks like we're completely out of time. We've got 20 seconds left. I've ranted on. Again, my favorite pick, Michael Shannon.
I can't wait until he's eclipsed by Bill Hader.
This has been Sin of Smackdown for Sunday, September 29th. I've been Michael Brody. I've been joined by Shane Simmons. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back next week with our actress picks.
CJLO, 1690 AM.
Jeez, I got to the wire on that one. I was not ready for the show to be over. Just take the next hour and do the actresses. But at any rate. Well, thanks for indulging me. Sorry you didn't watch the film.
Yeah, no, I tried to, but the streaming fucked up and I didn't have time to download. Anyway, there was a minor screw up.
That's why when I send you a link, you fucking download it. The second I send it to you, and then later, like a month later, you'll at least have it.
Yeah.
I did not tell you about two movies this weekend because I didn't want to interfere with you seeing these. I saw two really important movies this weekend, and I also saw a piece of garbage this weekend. That's not true. I saw a movie on Thursday in the cinema with my parents that I had no problems with, but was not good.
Yeah.
But boy, did the people I saw it with hate this movie.
What at?
I saw Ad Astra.
Oh, this is the one you hated?
No, I didn't hate it. Well, I'm saying they hated it.
They hated it, okay.
So I saw Ad Astra, and so I saw Ad Astra, and it's a Brad Pitt movie. I mean, I almost brought it up in our Brad Pitt conversation, but I knew we didn't have enough time. So it's a 2-hour movie. Like, almost exactly. It feels much longer. Because there's about 10 minutes of action in this film. Action being things that are action-y. 10, maybe 12 minutes, broken up into different scenes. But everything in between it is sad astronaut contemplation. And I mean, like, you're up for 2 hours, 1 hour and 45 minutes of spaceship. Brad Pitt overdubbing what it means to be a human, reaching for ideas.
Tree of Life in space.
And then something happens.